This is Pastor Lonnie Braswell, pastor of the Light of Peace Baptist Church in the city of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Today I have some very exciting information to tell you about. Our season is coming where we are about to have a major change in the earth and its rotation on its axis. And I don't want anybody to get upset or be afraid, because you have no reason to be afraid, because what will be done can only be done by our Heavenly Father. And He don't cause confusion. But if you remember, during the spring of the year, we talked about, or many people talked about, the possibility of the earth shifting on its axis. And the major concern that they had was that the planet Nibiru was going to enter into our area or into our solar system, and was going to bring about great catastrophes. And many know that you perhaps got emails that the dollar bill was going to be done away with. And though that was so that the authorities could have something in place so that in case people run down to the banks and wanted to pull out their money, it would have been impossible for them to do, because they was going to set up a plan whereby you could only get money through your credit cards or your debit cards. Now, and that the dollar bill would be no more out. But that didn't happen, and they didn't have needed to do that. But with this change that is coming, it's going to be a very settled change. There's not going to be earthquakes. There's not going to be shaking in the earth. There's not going to be things that is going to cause major problems in the universe. And so basically this is the same thing, but there will be no planets entering into our solar system as of yet. The new planet is due in 8 years, but that's a subject of another program, and we will talk about that later. But basically what I want you to understand is that the earth is going to become stabilized on its axis at a certain point. And it is a point of precision. Now, what we have to understand is that the earth is going to go back and maintain its position that it was positioned in at the time of creation. Because before the flood came, the earth stood vertically straight up and down on its axis, and it rotated around the sun for 360 days. And seeing that it rotated around the earth for 360 days, that gave us a climate that was very productive in sustaining life in a way that we don't have at this present time. But the earth is about to be restored back to the original precision that God created it in. And I want to tell you something, that the earth and all the planets and all the stars and all the galaxies and all the solar system that's in the universe acts in precision with each other. But we are out of the original precision simply because of the fact that the earth is out of course. And in the book of Psalms, chapter 82, verse 5 and 6, which states that all of the earth is out of course. In other words, the foundations of the earth is out of course. And the foundation of the earth is the axis that holds the earth in its positions. Now, I must tell you something also, that the sun controls the axes of the earth, the planets, and everything else that rotates on axis. And it does that based on frequency. The planets communicate with each other. And we will talk about that later, because that is an entire different subject matter to be covered. But as we head into September, it is very well possible, and I'm not being dogmatic about it, but it is very well possible that the earth will come back into precision. But there are 2 days during the year that precision happens. And one was the month of April, the first day of the month. And on that day, the sun came up at 6 a.m. in the morning, or 7 a.m. by our fast time. And if you go 180 days, you will find that on September the 29th is a day also when the sun in our area will rise at 7 a.m. in the morning. And of course, that's by fast time, and by our old time, before we ran into changing the hours of a day, it would be 6 a.m. in the morning. Well, that's the original time that God created, or said, let there be light. And there was light. And the Spirit of the Lord moved upon the face of the earth. And not only that, but then it goes on to conclude in verse 5 and said that the evening and the morning were the first day. And evening starts by biblical time at 6 p.m. in the evening, and 6 a.m. in the morning, back to 6 p.m. the next evening, which makes a 24-hour period. Now, don't argue with me, or if you want to, you go ahead. But a biblical day during that time was not 1,000 years. That would be scientifically out of order. If it took the earth 1,000 years to rotate on its axis one time, that would mean that it would be dark on one side of the earth and light on the other side, and the plant life on the backside of the earth, when it crosses into darkness, would be destroyed. So basically, so that's for a day to be 1,000 years in the days of creation was absolutely wrong. And I want to tell you that there's certain laws that God works by. There's certain rules and regulations that he works by, that must maintain themselves throughout all of time that was created for man. But basically, I will tell you that at September the 29th, the sun was set in at our time at 6 p.m. in the evening, or 7 p.m. in the evening. So that could be very well the day that the earth stopped moving in an elliptical shape around in the universe. And I must tell you that it is the sun that carries the planets in that elliptical shape. because the sun is the chief planet or the chief star. And since the sun is the chief star, there is a communication that goes on among the planets so that they can stay in their prospective place that God have placed them. Now, what I want to tell you is that set the evening of September the 29th, if you look up the sunset and the sunrise, according to timeanddate.com, and pull your area by us being in different time zones. Everybody in their different time zones should experience the sun setting at 6 p.m. in the evening or 7 p.m. by, again, fast time. And God is about to do something to let us know that the Bible does speak concerning the earth on its axis. But because we don't understand time, many scholars or many people who feel that they know things said that the Bible does not mention this. But yes, it does. In the book of Revelation, chapter 11, when God called forth the two prophets, and they shall prophesy for 1260 days. That is 3.5 years of old biblical time, which means that the earth, before the tribulation period starts, have to be back on its axis at its original place of creation. Now, and because it gives the math very clearly, it says that they shall prophesy for 42 months, 1260 days, and 42 months at 30 days equals 1260 days. And so the message there is that the earth must be back on its axis before the tribulation period shall come. But I'm going to tell you, because it is very possible that on the 29th of September, in the following morning, it could rise at 6 a.m. in the morning. And then at that particular point in time, the earth will go back to making a 360-degree circle in the universe and revolving around the sun. And because of your day, or a circle being 360 degrees. That's why the years before the flood was 360 days. Matter of fact, you can find that in the book of Genesis prior to the flood. In chapter 7 and also in chapter 8, it will give you this information. Because the flood came 47 days after the new year. And 47 days after the new year, and in the second month, the 17th day of the month. And the water arose for 850 days. Also on the 7th month and the 15th day of the month. Now, 150 days, exactly 5 months, give you 30 days per month. You see, God is an intelligent God, and He does things. He does things by precision and an elliptical shape at 365 days, which happened after the flood. Matter of fact, this is where The Romans got March the 15th being the New Year's Day, because there was a gentleman who did the time study for Caesar, and he calculated the New Year's Day on March the 15th. Well, we went back and calculated from creation to the day of the flood, because you can account for all of those days, but you have to do your study. It's just not sitting up on the pages for you to get it. You've got to dig. You've got to use your mind in order for this to be accounted for. You got to compare your 360 days a year, compare it to the 365 and a quarter days per year. And God does nothing by quarters, or how can I say it? God does nothing by quarters, and he does everything on a whole. And the earth is out of course. And the reason that earth is out of course, as Psalms chapter 82 and verse 5 says, is because of the sin of man. And it is sin that throws things out of course. Because throughout time, God have been working and doing things by his time, not our time. Because our time does not fit with his time, because it is out of course. And since it is out of course, then it is going to have to come to a place where it is set back on course, because there is another divine law called the beginning and the ending is the same. And I show you how that works. If you stick out your finger and draw a circle, the same place that the circle started was the same place that the circle began. And it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. But God knows the starting point and he knows the ending point. And that's why the principle is the beginning and the ending is the same. And that works even in our own personal lives. For there's a saying that says twice a child and one time an adult or man. Because as we are born into this world, we are in a position where someone have to take care of us to make sure that we get fed right. Then when age and death started creeping up, the same things happen again. Many times we are put in a position where we have to go back to somebody taking care of us all over again until we leave this world. But I'm going to get ready and close now. But I want you to understand that you have a destiny. And God is about to do some things in this earth. So basically what I want not to happen is when the scientists and the astrologers and astronomers began to find that there have been a major change in the rotation of the sun and the rotation of the moon and the rotation of the earth, that a year have now or will be established again at 360 days rather than 365 days, because the course of the earth will go back to being 360 degrees, a complete and perfect circle around the sun. The sun will no longer run its course that it have been running and taking all the other planets with it as it goes in this elliptical shape, or in what the Bible calls its orbit. And so there's coming a shaking. And we don't want anybody to get overly concerned about this situation, because it's not a catastrophe that's going to happen. It's not anything that's out of or that's great or out of the ordinary from the beginning of time, but just that the earth will go back into its original time of creation, and it will rotate around the sun at 360 degrees. Also, the sun will not continue on its orbit, but the sun will rotate also in the same place at the center of the universe where it was first originated and created, in the center of the universe. And it will stand in its place and will no longer run the race that the sun runs. Because Psalms 19 tells us that the sun is like a strong man that comes out of his chamber to run a race. And the sun, in actuality, is a star and also an angel of God that is to give the planets light and give inside the circle of light a light so that we can live by, and so that we can grow crops by, so that it can be medicine for us. And wait a minute, you said, I just said something strange, medicine for us. Yes, the sun have vitamin D in it. And the vitamin D, and the reason that people lived so long back in the days before the flood was because they had an equal level of vitamin D. And it kept their DNA strengthened. If you ever notice that after the flood, man's lifespan began to get shorter and shorter and shorter. Matter of fact, Noah lived for 950 years. And after the sun started moving in an orbit and carrying the earth and all the other planets in an orbit, then man's lifespan began to go down, 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 until it got to David. And when it got to David, man's lifespan became 70. And the Bible says, if by reason of strength they should be 80 years, yet is their strength, labor, and sorrow, and it is soon cut off, and we fly away. So now, I'm bringing this thing to a close because I want you to understand what God is doing, and that when there come all kinds of conversation about this matter, you will know that it is nothing really to be all bent out of shape, all concerned about at this time. The time is coming, though, when some things are going to happen that the prognosticators have been talking about. And the new planet, or well, not the new planet, but the old planet that was in the days of Noah shall come back around again. But this is not the time for us to be concerned about. This will be a time where we are to come together in unity and harmony with each other, with the universe, with heaven. And so we're going to close on this note. God bless you, and heaven smile upon you.